Questions for the IT teacher, part 2. You there, ask your question. Yo, data validation and verification. Explain that to me, bro. That's a great question. Data validation and verification, always a good topic to talk about. Let me explain. Okay, everyone, this is a very important topic for exams, data validation and verification. So let's kind of rapid fire through this as fast as possible. So, when you have data and you have to enter it into a computer system, you want to ensure that the data is entered correctly without any errors. So one of the two major methods that we use is data validation and data verification. So let's look at data validation first. So data validation is the process of checking the data, all right, for errors. So we're making sure that there are no errors before we enter it into the system, we commit it to the system. So there are several methods of data validation. We have range check, reasonableness check, data type check, presence check, format check, and length check. So let's go through each one very quickly with data validation. So the first one is the range check. So what is a range check? So sometimes you would go on a website, for example, and you have to enter particular data. If the data is not within a particular range, so for example, if you have to enter your age and the age that you enter shows that you're too young, all right, then you might not be able to register for the site. So that is a range check. It checks to see that the data is within an acceptable range. So that's the first method of data validation. Second one is reasonableness check. So it checks to see if the data is reasonable. So for example, if you have a website, you have to enter marks, and say the marks is out of 100 and you enter a mark of 110 or 200, that's not reasonable. So it will not be saved to the system. So as we see in this little example right here. So in that case, it checks to see if the data is reasonable or not. If it's not reasonable, it's not saved to the system. All right. The other one is, what's another example of reasonableness? Let's check out data type check. Now, sometimes you have to enter data of a particular data type. So if, for example, you have to enter your age in numbers, but you actually enter that in the form of written words, then you could get an error if the system only wants to take numbers. So in that case, you would have a data type check to ensure that the person enters numbers and does not enter words. All right, so another method is consistency check. All right, so consistency check, very important. Sometimes it would try to match up the data. So for example, in this example, if in case you are registering on a site and the country is supposed to be Trinidad, but you enter the city as in New York, it will not be consistent. So it will come up as an error and the data will not be saved. So, these methods kind of ensure that the most correct data is entered into the computer system. All right, so another one is presence check. Have you ever go on to create an account on a website and you see these little asterisks next to it? All right, those asterisks kind of make sure that you enter particular data. Okay, so and if in case you don't enter the data, you don't get to move on in the form or whatever it is. So that's a presence check that the form is doing. All right, and we only have two more. They have a format check for data validation. So sometimes it checks to see the format. So for example, if you have to enter email, I need to have that little @ sign, and that @ sign is missing, then the data will not be saved. That is what they call a format check. And then we have a length check. So for example, passwords in some systems should be over a certain length. So they wouldn't allow passwords too short. So they actually would have a length check there to make sure that the person doesn't enter a password that is too short. Right, so those are the methods of data validation and data verification. Let's go through that very quickly. Now, this simply is the process of checking the data that's entered into the system to make sure that it's accurate. Okay, so it makes sure that the data is accurate. So you try to look for typographical errors,
transpositional errors and transcription errors generally for data verification. So one way of catching that type of error is through double entry. Have you ever gone to change your password and they ask you to type the password twice? Right? They call that double entry data verification. That's one method to ensure that you enter the correct data. All right. And another method of data verification is proofreading. So reading what you have typed in against the document that you're probably taking it from to ensure that the data is accurate. Okay, so I hope that helped. Those are the methods of data validation verification. It's a little longer video, but hope this would help you all out in your exams or if you just want to know IT in general.